Hello everyone, my name is Widat and here are my crewmates Rabiatul and this is Amira and this here is Nurin and last but not least Shahira.
For the introduction, this story tells about a beautiful wealthy widowed countess named Susan Ann that owned a very large mansion after her husband's death, the Count. He was a very old man and it was said that she married him for his money and one day killed him so she could have all of his money as she was the sole heir. Her lifestyle was indeed expensive. She went to parties and dinners, so to overcome her expensive lifestyle, she renovated the mansion to be a hotel and her income was a lot after that. So many rumors of her during her days, which she only married the Count for his money and a lot of other rumors. She remarried with a bachelor named David Lancelot and she was imprisoned at the age of 24 because of the mistakes she had done in her days.
Now I will tell you about the background of this story. This story was published on 2nd of April 2022. The story of this author that has many readers is The Best Friend, which also a horror genre. So the author style of writing is she likes to write about horror genre, and the style of this author is like storytelling. This is because many people likes to read about storytelling because it's like we are listening to a story that we can relate to it.
The overview of this story is that the story itself, the genre is horror and mystery. As you go throughout the story, there are a lot of plot twists during the plots and the endings, which can give attraction to readers to read the whole story. And the story also has a lot of unsolved cases, which can give questions to the readers about what's the motive of the cases. And it also tells about the mention of Sarah Ann, which is a hotel history throughout the years, about how it went down and who got the mention after her death or her loss. This story will give readers questions throughout the story, and it is solely not boring and can attract readers to read the whole story.
So for the characters in the story, our main character is Sarah Ann. Sarah is a beautiful woman who attracted a lot of bachelors during event at the hotel. Sarah lived a lavish life because she owns her husband's legacy and people around her know her as wealthy widow. Sarah is a cunning person because she asked her maid to put a poison into her husband's food and told her not to tell anyone about it. So basically, Sarah asked someone to do dirty work for her and she's just hiding behind the shadow. And lastly, she's an impulsive person. The reason why we say this because Sarah acts rashly without thinking. She barking up the wrong tree when she made a decision to kill her husband as soon as she found out that he has a bad intention towards her. Next, the second character in this story is David Lancelot. David Lancelot is Sarah Ann's husband. He's an imposter in this story because he married with Sarah just because of her wealth and not because of love. He's a charming person because Sarah fell in love with him despite of other bachelors that tried to hit her up. Another character that we took out is the police because the police in the story did such an evil work. They didn't manage to catch the killer of women guests at the hotel throughout the past years. And lastly, we took out Sarah Ann's main character, which is honest. Sarah Ann's maid is such an honest person because she's the one who revealed the truth about David Lancelot's death, and that's makes Sarah Ann's in prison for life. I think that's all for characters. Move on to another part.
Next, so after you hearing what Amira just saying about the plot, you guys must have been in questionable state. Okay, This short story is 100% original. It is from Susan Groening. Is very committed and dedicated in her work. That she always do something. She always think about something that will make the reader read her book. This story is actually different from the others. I must say that just because this is because the plot twist and it's not predictable. You can't predict everything that happened in this story just because it's not the same with the others. And of course, this short story is a very people say is very intriguing. For information, just like what I said before, Susan Rano always been committed in her work. That's why she always attract readers to read her book. So I must saying that it's very intriguing, and this is my first time seeing short story, and I never liked short story, and this is what I mean that this short story is very intriguing. And the last one, it is far-fetched or authentic. I must say this short story is a far-fetched because it's not real and it's not authentic. This is fiction story.
So the comparison, the difference between my story and the Junji Ito story is that the ghost in my story kills its victim in a very unique way. And one of them is the ghost chooses the victim so that it has the characteristic, the facial features, the body features, same as the Sarah Ann. And for the Junji Ito story, the ghost in Junji Ito only eats its victim alive. It does not kill the victim, but eating it alive is merely traumatizing the victim. So the similarity between these two stories is that my stories, the ghost in my story kills a victim in a unique way. Same goes for the Junji Ito ghost. It kills the victim in a very unique way. So for me, this difference and the similarity makes both of these stories very interesting for me to read. So based on my real life encounter to ghosts, the ghost that I've encountered is not that brutal and not that wild. But actually, the ghost that I encounter is quite tame and shy. Some of the example of the event that occur is that some books falling and maybe some chair shaking and just something mild like that. So the ghost portrayed in my story is quite rare and quite wild because the ghost in the story can kill people. But the ghost that I've seen in movies, for example The Conjuring, is much more extremely brutal than the ghost in my story. The ghost in The Conjuring can levitate people and also can kill people with just a mere flick of their hand. So the ghost in the movie is a lot more powerful than ghosts in my story that I'm reviewing. So because of that, I think that this movie that I'm reviewing, the ghost in this movie is a lot more realistic than the ghost portrayed in the movies. So because of that, I enjoy this book's ghost more.
Next is the controversial issue that has in this story. What I want to point out is the hotel management. This is, we can see from this story, even throughout the years, the same thing or cases kept happening. This is because of the hotel management doesn't handle the cases properly, which made the same thing happen again. So the next thing is the global issues. The thing that I want to point out is the aspect of government or the authorities. They should train the police who are competent in their work. So if the police are competent in their work, they can investigate the cases properly so they can catch the criminal. With this, the same thing won't happen again if they catch the real criminal.
Overall, the story theme is about Salman revenge. The revenge continuously took place at the hotel from generation to generation, even it was completely distracted. The revenge was reciprocated in many ways, but had one thing in common, which is related to Sarah Ann. If you guys want to know why it is related to Sarah Ann, you guys should watch the story by yourself. I think the place was cursed with something bad because of the incident that happened past year. If you guys watch the story, you will discover a lot of life lessons. One of the life lesson is do not be dishonest towards people because we will pay for it later. Other than that, we must think rationally before making a decision because we so that we will not make a wrong move. Lastly, we must not easily trust people that we just knew because they might have a bad intention towards us, just like David did to Sarah. For you guys' information, David and Sarah married in a short time after they have children. I think that's all from me. Move on to the last part.
Last but not least is about recommendations. I really recommend this short story for all of you guys. I would like to recommend to those who are horror story lover and also to someone who are into investigator. Personally, I think every age group will like this short story. It doesn't have any negative aspect, just something like bullying, racism and others. It's more have positive side than negative things, and it will give you more positive vibe. And it's actually showing a lot of moral, just what Shahid said before, and it will give you some life lessons. For some reason, I think these short stories are actually triggered the term that we call as love. This is because if you read or watch this movie, you can actually relate it to some people that are thinking about revenge. It's in this short story, it's concrete about revenge, that he or she are being persecuted by love of his life. And to be specific, I would like to recommend to those who are students. Actually, this short story give you a lot of things, and to be importantly is thinking skills and also problem solving skills. For those who are students, you are really need those two things. I think that's all, and I really recommend this movie 10/10.